you all. Welcome to Eat Well, Be Happy. This is our 12th show. Wow, Robin.
Yep, 12 already.
And I'm Deborah.
And I'm Robin.
And we decided to go with a summer theme today. We decided to make salads that we love, that yes, you can make them in winter, but they travel so beautifully to picnics. They look great on a buffet table. I just love them. So we're going to be making a cannelli bean salad with smoked olive oil. We're going to be making a tomato salad with sumac and pomegranate molasses and beets. And you're going to be making?
I'm going to be making a quinoa salad with apricots and pistachios.
Yum, yum, yum. So we're going to start with the bean salad. And I just love these little beeswax coated pieces of paper that keep things nice and fresh. So I'm going to take that off. And you can see that we have some cannelli beans here. And I've used an Eden cannelli beans. And cannelli bean is just a fancy name for a white lima beans or a white kidney bean. So white kidney beans is the correct answer. And I love Eden beans. They were one of the first out there to go organic and non-GMO and support small local family farms and line their cans with enamel. So can't be better. They also cook their beans with a little piece of kombu, which is a seaweed that makes them more digestible so people don't get gas. So with that said, so we've got our beans in here. We've got a can of beans, so about 2 cups. And I have about a pound of yellow beans, and these are from the garden. And I just steamed them for about a minute or 2. I trim the ends off. And I love, love, love to use yellow wax beans. And this year I decided not even to grow the green ones because these don't discolor or get to look old or sort of tired when you dress them, whereas the green ones do. So we have about a pound of these in here, steamed for about a minute.
These are gorgeous.
They are gorgeous. You want to taste one?
Yep.
They're really good. And if you have any liquid left in there, of course, drink it because it's very naturally alkalizing. So let me get that out of our way. Whoops, I'm off camera there, aren't I? All right.
Beautiful.
So to that, I'm going to add about 4 chard leaves. And I picked these last night in the garden, and they have been rolling around in the refrigerator, a little bit damaged here. And I'm going to use the stems as well as the leaves, and I'm just going to sort of cut them up into bite-sized pieces. And the stems will be a little bit crunchy, but you know, that's what God gave us teeth for, right?
Right.
I often think that most of what we eat in this country just goes down the gullet very easily instead of our needing to chew it. And we get then more calories than we need. And our teeth don't get exercise, and our gums don't get exercise.
Well, it's actually the chewing process that starts your digestive process. That's where the digestion starts.
You are so smart, Robin.
Thanks,
Isn't she
Deborah.
smart? All right, so there's our greens in there. And I decided to take a little beet green, a little dandelion, and a little kale, and just put that in there too, so you'll see that you can use whatever greens you happen to have. All right, so we'll just put that in there. And about 2 cups of basil, and this again got picked last night from the garden. And basil is one of those herbs that has all kinds of anti-bacterial properties, and some really, in addition to tasting good in the summertime, it really does a body good, as they say. And it's just the smell of it. Oh my gosh.
That's really nice looking basil.
Yeah. If you try and eat basil all by itself, it doesn't taste so good. Doesn't it taste like too strong to you?
If you have a little bit, it's okay, but yes, it is a strong herb.
Yeah. All right. So here's our little handy dandy compost bucket. And let's see, I'm going to check my recipes. So we've got our beans, our yellow wax beans. We've got our chard. We're going to be putting in about 1/2 cup of a smoked olive oil. And olive oil is smoked different ways. This one is smoked over pine cones. And so it tastes a little bit like bacon. So about 1/2 cup. And I'd say we had about, that'll be good. And about 1/2 red onion. And onions, of course, make the nose run, and mine is already running. What is it about my nose? So the red onion not only adds color, but it adds a different kind of crunch and a little sweetness and a little spice, which sort of offsets and complements the smoked olive oil. But onion, known as Allium cepa in Latin, and the homeopathic remedy Allium cepa you take if your nose starts running. And if I had some now, I would take it. All right, so now we're going to use about half a cup of lemon juice. And we're going to see if this little handy-dandy thing... See, I always experiment on you all. I always try things I've never tried before, and I know you're not supposed to do that. But I've never used this little device.
Kind of working.
And kind of. You want to finish it? See
Want
if
me
you
to do
have
it?
better luck than I do.
All right.
All right, and I'm going to use about 2 teaspoons of salt. And this one I'm using something called real salt, and it comes from Utah, comes from the caves.
It was working.
And again, we're using a good salt because we don't want it to have been purified with chemicals so that it is just a refined product. We want something that gives us all the nutritional bang for our buck we can get. And I think instead of black pepper, I'm going to use grains of paradise, which you need to grind like pepper, and is a little bit peppery, but it's also a little different. So we're using the smoked olive oil and the grains of paradise, and
There.
we have something that's a little bit different. All right, so I think we have everything that we need in there now. And the question is, do I use hands or the spatula?
Hands work better.
Hands are safer. I do remember Jeff tossing things in the bowl, and I stood far out of his way, but he didn't spill anything. And this salad, you can serve it right away, but it really is great if it marinates overnight a little bit too. So, Robin, what do you think?
I think it looks great. It's a really nice alternative to, the everyday barbecue, coleslaw, potato dishes that everybody kind of associates with.
Well, and we really don't eat very many beans in this country, and so many cultures live on beans. And they have fiber, they have protein, they have calcium, they have all those things. So that old saying, let food be thy medicine, a dish like this really does that trick, because you've got
Absolutely.
your greens and your beans. Can you smell the smoked olive oil?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just take a bean and taste it and see if it has enough smoked olive oil and salt.
Okay, and I'm going to do the same.
All right, and tell me what you think.
Ooh, that's very good. I think it has enough salt, has enough smoked olive oil.
And the lemon together with the smoked olive
Really
oil is
nice.
fantastic.
Really
So
nice.
I'm going to rinse my hands, and
Okay.
and then I'll wipe off that board for you.
Okay. Today I'm going to make for you quinoa with apricots and pistachios. I brought the quinoa cooked, which it's very simple to do this. I started with about 2.5 cups of dry quinoa, and I brought 4 cups of water to a boil. Then I dropped the quinoa in, turned it down to a very low simmer, and then cooked it for 15 minutes and shut off the heat.
Did you
for 5
cover it
minutes.
when you cooked it?
Oh, yes, I did. I covered it. Cook it just like rice, actually.
And can you see the little tails on the quinoa?
Yes.
When quinoa cooks, these little tails come out, it sprouts. And quinoa is one of the 3 grains that they say is a complete protein.
That's right. That's why it's considered a superfood. And it's a complete protein because it contains all 9 essential amino acids, in case you didn't know that. A lot of
do.
That's what makes a complete protein.
Yeah.
All right, so I have the cooked quinoa, and one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make the dressing for this first, because we're going to use some dried red and green pepper flakes, and they need to reconstitute in the oil. So I'm going to take about 1/2 cup of olive oil. I'm going to start with that. Just pour that on in. I'm not going to measure it this time. This is a kind of popular dish at our store.
Living
I'm making a lot.
dangerously.
I'm living dangerously today. Okay. To that, I'm going to add a 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm going to take one of these and 1.5 of these and about a 1.5 teaspoons of ground black pepper.
Rich in chromium, stabilizes blood sugar.
And it tastes wonderful.
Great.
Right? Now, the next thing, I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of cumin. This has a unique blend of spices in it. And it's actually this dish that got me hooked on quinoa and coriander for that matter.
That was a lot of cumin.
It is. That's how much. It has a lot of cumin in this.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to use a little bit of coriander. I'm going to use about a 1/2 tablespoon, if I can get it out.
Oh, just dump it. Sorry. Coriander,
No.
of course, is the dried form
Of cilantro.
Yeah.
There we go. And I never thought I liked coriander. I always thought it was one of those spices that I disliked, but I really like it. It does something very nice for this dish. So I have my salt, my pepper, cumin, coriander, and I need paprika, which
I didn't take out for you, Kay. I will
gotta give
get
me
it.
the paprika.
Yeah.
That gives it a nice color because this the dressing's really pretty much going to just dress the quinoa. So paprika, I'm going to put a nice big heaping tablespoon like that. Teaspoon actually. And now I'm going to mix this together. I'm going to dump about a 1/2 cup of my red and green peppers. Mix
These
that
are not
together.
so easy to find, the dried red and green bell peppers. So what if somebody doesn't have those and doesn't have access, could you suggest something else?
Yeah, I would put fresh green and red peppers.
Okay.
Minced small.
All
Just
right.
put the equal amount in there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in, about a 1/2 cup or so of chopped red pepper. I mean, this isn't pepper. This is red onion.
Let me get this over here for you. Our little compost bucket.
Thank you. I like red onion in this dish.
Well, I stopped to think about the themes we're doing. I think everything is using red onion. I don't know why red onion, it's colorful. And so it really adds a punch of color for one thing.
It does. This particular dish benefits from the red onion as long as it's kind of mild. If it's really strong, I back off on it a little bit because you don't want it to overpower it. But if it's this time of the year, all of the onions are very nice and sweet. So I'm just going to chop this and throw that in the bowl. All right, so the red onion's going to go in. This is a little bit more. I'm just going to put it all in. Okay, the next thing we're going to put in is apricots. So for this, I'm going to put in about a 1.5 cups of finely chopped apricots, and I'm going to show you my little trick. I've put them all together like this, and then just very carefully, I kind of just slice a little bit off and just roll them, and I'm very careful about cutting them. And then if there's too big, then I just cut them. So they're just like little pieces of minced apricots.
And one could use a scissor and
Yeah.
or use the dry cranberries that we were mentioning too.
Yes.
But I would just want to say these dried apricots are really wonderful, and you can see they're dark. They're not orange. So they haven't been treated with sulfur dioxide, which means that there are a lot of people who are actually allergic to sulfur dioxide and will have a reaction.
Correct.
So make sure whenever you buy your apricots, you're buying brown ones.
Yes.
Do you want help cutting those? Or-
Sure, I would love that. This
All
is
right.
actually the longest part of this dish.
And my technique is not nearly as refined as Robin's.
You do how it works best for you.
Yeah. And I'm slow too.
Well, you gotta take a little care with these.
Yeah.
That's just experience talking.
Yeah, wouldn't. So apricots are really high in iron, and that gets intensified as they get dry. So as they get dry, they actually give us more nutrition in the way of minerals and also in the way of fiber.
Exactly, they're very high in fiber, and they also have magnesium.
That's true.
And apricots are best consumed dry to get the most nutritional bang for your buck.
I have an apricot tree outside, and it is a little difficult to grow in New England. I find that it's very touchy. I think last year I had 2 apricots, and this year I have about 6, so I'm not doing too well. All right.
At least you got them growing.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, this is awesome. Thanks for helping.
Well, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
What are friends for?
Exactly. To help cut the apricots.
Okay, so
There we go. So we have our apricots in and our red onions, and I have about
2 cups.
2 cups of pistachios that go in. Pistachios also are
Iron,
high,
iron.
Yep,
Yeah,
and fiber. This is a really high fiber dish.
Yes,
All of the
but not the kind that's going to make you say, "Oh my God, the fiber."
no, not that kind.
All
Okay,
right. Parsley.
parsley. This beautiful parsley. I'm going to shave it off. This is just take the knife blade, pull the parsley down. I'm going to take the ends off, and I'm going to throw that over there. And I'm just going to chop it up. Take a couple of the big pieces off.
This was actually one of the very first dishes that we started making in the store back in 1989, and it's always been a favorite.
It's an awesome dish.
Yeah.
It really is.
In the early days, we made it with pine nuts, which I also love, but pine nuts then went to, like a few $1,000s a pound. That's an exaggeration. So then we chose the next best, which is pistachios, that now cost as much as pine nuts used to, but it still is about half the price of pine nuts. And if pistachios are out of your range, use pumpkin seeds, use sunflower seeds, use walnuts, use almonds, use whatever.
Use whatever. The other thing with pistachios that I just found out, which I was not aware of, is they also have a lot of B vitamins.
Wow,
Did you
the
know
nerve
that?
and stress vitamins.
Yes.
Okay.
So pistachios are a great snack. And they have good fat in them. A lot of people don't like to eat nuts because they think they're fattening, but it's good fat, so you should eat them. Okay.
All right, here she goes. Parsley in.
I probably cut it a little finer, Deborah.
Except I was Russian, or you could tell.
All right. And for the last step, we're just going to put the dressing on and mix it together. And I'm going to put just a touch more olive oil in here because it looks a little,
Like they've absorbed it.
yeah,
All right.
which it's supposed to do, but
Yeah.
it needs to be able to come out of the cup. There we go. All right, spatula it is. Now, all of this is just going to coat all of those quinoas. And we're going to have a very lovely salad.
I love this dishes this shape because you can stir in them and mix in them and serve in them. But obviously a mixing bowl at home will be fine. And if you're desperate and don't have a mixing bowl, use a pot. Those are great too.
Pots are a great thing to mix
Yeah.
stuff in.
All right, so this one is getting to look, I can just see it starting to coat.
See, it changes color. The
Yeah. The paprika.
yeah.
So paprika is one of the richest sources of vitamin C. It's higher than oranges, for instance. I know we're not using a lot of paprika every day, but every time you make something with paprika, you say to yourself, wow, I done good. So I look at this, we've got wonderful iron in here, we've got fiber, we've got protein, we've got vitamin A from the apricots. Just really great. That looks
There.
so pretty, Robin.
There. There. And the parsley's okay.
All right.
All right, I'm just going to wipe my bowl down and we will.
You have this little thing right here if you want to use that.
Thank you. And you can
I was
start-
suggesting Robin use this wonderful little hemp washcloth, which doesn't grow bacteria, and which I really just love. All right,
Okay,
so are we ready?
we're ready.
So the next dish we're going to be doing uses a lot of tomatoes and beets from the garden, and I would tell you this has been the strangest growing season in New England. We had a very, very late cold weather. And so tomatoes, which should be romping in the garden and just riotous, are not right now. So I had to, some of these are from the garden, but some of them I'm sorry to say I had to resort and buy. So,
But when they come,
yeah.
you're going to have to be ready to make sauce and
will be
salsa
ready.
and have a dinner party featuring tomatoes.
I will be ready. I will be
Because
ready.
that's what's going to happen.
Okay. So last night I went out to the garden and I picked 3 golden beets and 1 red beet. So I have probably about 2 cups of cooked beets, and I just scrubbed them. I didn't peel them because I was saving myself time and saving the vitamins. And so you can see the golden beets have gotten colored by the red beets, and that's fine. But beets, as we know, are really wonderful in so many ways. They enrich the blood, they help lower high blood pressure. So there have been some really credible studies about people drinking beet juice and being able to get off blood pressure medication. So for all those reasons and the fact we just love the taste of them, we're going to be using these beets. And I put about 2 cups of water in here, and I simmered them until I could poke them with a knife and they were nice and tender and soft. And someone will drink that little bit of beet juice afterwards, I know. Would you mind putting that in the sink for me, darling?
Absolutely.
Together with the cover.
Absolutely.
So I've got about my probably about 2-3 cups of beets that are diced. Again, bite size so that you don't embarrass yourself when you're trying to eat them in front of somebody. And then I have here about 4 cups of diced different cherry tomatoes. And it's really fun when you can use yellow and green and red and orange. So that'll make it look really pretty. And then, in addition to about the 4 cups of cherry tomatoes, we're supposed to be using about 2 cups of regular sized tomatoes. Well, this is as big as my ripe ones have gotten in my garden at this time, but that's the way it is. So I just rinse them, and I'm just going to, again, cut them sort of in bite sizes. And I don't remember what the varieties are.
Actually, I'm curious about these green ones. Are they look like a unripe green tomato, but I bet they're not.
I know I am growing a green cherry tomato in the garden, and it's called Mr. Doctor, or the Green Doctor tomato. And last year those were my favorites, but as I said, they aren't ready this year, so I had to buy them. And so I'm not sure what they're called. And this is an early variety purple tomato, again for a little variety. Tomatoes are one vegetable that when we eat them in sauce, we're actually getting, they say, higher nutrient values. Because they say the raw ones, while they have lutein for our eyes and lycopene for things like prostate health, raw there have a lot of vitamin C and a lot of other wonderful things too. All right, so we've got our 4 cups of cherry tomatoes in there, about our 2 regular tomatoes, about 2 to 3 cups of beets. I use golden and red. You can use all red if you like. And the red onion again.
The red onion. It's a prevailing theme. Did you notice I did not have any garlic in my dish today?
Which you notice I didn't either.
I know, but I see some up there.
The last time Robin and I cooked together, everything had garlic. So, all right. So I want about 1 small red onion, or that's usually about a cup. Diced, and I don't cut them nearly as nicely as Robin does, but I just hack them. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put the red onion in there. Heaven help us if somebody doesn't like onion with our dishes today, Robin. All right, so let me check my ingredients now. I have the tomatoes in there, the beets are in there. So now we're going to use about some olive oil and pomegranate molasses. Where's my pomegranate?
Right here.
Oh, thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
So pomegranate molasses is concentrated. It's made from the pomegranates, and they just cook it down and cook it down and cook it down. And they add a little bit of sugar to intensify the flavors and to make it nice and thick. So I want to use about, how much of that? About 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. And pomegranate molasses, and then we're going to use about 1/4 cup of olive oil. And this one I'm using happens to be a nice, mild, buttery one from Israel. And olive oils are buttery sometimes. I think more when the olives sit and when they sit in the bottles. When you get the first pressing, very often right after the harvest date, they hit the back of your throat and they make you cough and they taste bitter.
Yes.
And we Americans are not used to that bitterness, which actually has more polyphenols. But this one is a nice buttery one. So what did I say, about 1/4 cup?
Yes.
All right, 1/4 cup. And then we are going to use a little bit of sumac. And sumac, again, is a Middle Eastern spice, and you can see it's red and it has a sort of a citrusy flavor. And they've done some studies where they gave animals water with sumac in their water,
Yeah.
and they found that their organs were less prone to DNA damage, that it really protected the animal's organs. So in addition to getting this really wonderful lemony little spice, we're protecting our cells. And then the other thing we're going to be putting in here is, again, some little cumin again, about a teaspoon of cumin. And the only other thing we're going to be putting here is mint, which I'm going to grab. So again, mint from the garden, and we're going to do about 1/4 cup. So, see, I should have stripped it before you all got here because it's fighting back. It's saying, no, no, no. So this salad has Middle Eastern tones. So it's got the pomegranate molasses, which I think comes from the Middle East. It's got mint, which is heavily used in the Middle East. Cumin, the same.
Sumac.
Sumac. So, all right. So I think that is about it. And now let's see if I can mix it in this dish without making a fool of myself.
Looks good.
Oh, it's just such an absolutely stunningly beautiful salad. And the flavors are just great. So you can serve this right away. You know, you can serve it room temperature or warm, but it is actually even better, you know, slightly chilled in the fridge. So let's see. That side. All right. Sorry, Robin. Here go the hands. So, Robin,
Yes.
my hands are an absolute mess here.
Do you want my towel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we put any goat cheese on here, or should we leave it be?
Well, it looks gorgeous. Goat cheese would be perfect.
All right. Well, we'll allow people to put it on the table by themselves. But here we are, wiping our hands, and I would say I think we have made 3 stunningly beautiful dishes today
I think you're right.
that are going to taste even better.
I think you're right about that too.
And I didn't salt and pepper this. I just realized that. But we're out of time, guys.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm
already?
Deborah.
I'm Robin.
And we love you, we love you, we love you. And we've had such a good time with you here. And we hope you make these salads and love them as much as we do. Thanks.
Thanks.